Hello, welcome to the most dangerous podcast. How are you, James? Are you well?
Well, I am now. Yeah, sorry about last week. I had a bit of a chest infection, so I couldn't make it. But I've been to the doctors, and it's all sorted. So yeah, I'm back and ready
Fantastic.
to rock and roll. But I understand that you've not been too well this week either, so it's a bit of a struggle for you.
I know, and we had to put out our shameful clip show last week,
Uh,
and I thought that's fine, right? Okay, James will be better, and then I think the clip show went out on Sunday, and I started to feel ill, and I thought, shit,
yeah,
we're gonna have to record this week because we really are by the skin of our arse now. We're
we are. Yeah,
recording this, and it's
it's
going out in a couple of days.
it's late in the week, and we've got no
Yeah.
backup episodes, so we really need to crack on, really,
Ah,
don't we?
but
Um,
thankfully, I'm better. I wouldn't say I'm fully better. I'm well enough to do a podcast, and
that's good to hear.
it's your one this week, so all the stress is on you.
Yeah. Well, I'm a bit miserable at the moment. Well, it's this time of year, isn't it? Like,
It is, yeah.
it's fucking awful, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's freezing, and I do this like, every year, right?
Mhm.
So I used to work from home when the COVID lockdown and stuff was in, and then I moved jobs, and there was talk of me continuing to work from home, but that
Yeah.
kind of sort of got swept under the carpet and stuff. So currently, I work in an office where some people work from home, some people don't. Now, unfortunately, I'm one of those people that has to go in every single day, and
Yeah.
I absolutely resent the people that work from home, particularly like this time of year. So,
Mhm.
like the other morning, I like it. We had about an inch of snow, maybe less than that, maybe not an inch, not loads, but enough
Yeah.
to like it's Britain, so it completely just cripples the country when you even get just a sprinkling of snow. So I went out in the morning, like 8:30, 8:15, freezing.
Mhm.
Car's covered in snow. Couldn't find the scraper,
Oh,
so I'm
does
like
it?
dusting off all this snow with like one of my kids' mittens.
I use a bank card.
Yes, just anything. Just sat in the car for like 20 minutes while it warmed up, just
Yeah.
like absolutely shaking. Can't even touch the steering wheel because it's freezing.
Mhm.
And managed to get myself into work just on time because of all that messing about. And I just thought I can't do this anymore. So
Yeah.
I spent the first sort of 45 minutes. I was like, I hate the weather. I hate my job because I'm not working from home.
Mhm.
So I spent like the first sort of 45 minutes just looking for jobs in like hot places. Like, a job in Dubai, that'd do me. But
Gibraltar, stuff like that.
yeah,
Mm.
absolutely. I just hate it, man. I just hate being cold.
Yeah.
Oh, another thing came up this week actually, and I'd like your opinion on this.
Go on.
So I, because I'm busy, got
Mhm.
kids, got jobs, and think that our job, do other things as well.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'm partial to a microwave meal.
Oh yeah.
I'm ashamed to say.
I
I
had a
don't.
microwave pizza for my lunch today.
Oh, one of those Chicago Towns ones.
No, this is an Aldi jobby.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know those Chicago Town ones?
Yes.
I don't know if they've changed them. They're not very good in the microwave anymore.
Yeah, and the sauce isn't spicy. It used to be a little bit spicy.
Yeah, if you do them in the oven, they're
Very
dead. Now I
bland.
prefer them in the
Yeah.
oven, even though they take about 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Anyway, going off course. So yeah, sometimes I am partial to a microwave meal.
Mhm.
I'm ashamed to say. Now the other day I got myself like one of these Chinese ones,
Mhm.
and it was like a cashew and peanut sauce noodle type thing. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
It was quite a decent size. It says it was for two, but it wasn't. Like, you can just polish one of them off easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my partner, she saw it, and she said to me, "Well, I'm cooking a piece of salmon for my tea.
Mhm.
Do you mind if I have some of the sauce out of your microwave meal for my salmon?"
What?
That's not all right, is it?
No, that's not okay. No,
So that's what
that's
I said. I was like,
yeah.
no, I think you can't.
That's like yeah, you can't do that. That's
Yeah,
your sauce.
stealing my sauce. She was like, yeah, but there's loads. It's for two. It says it's for two. Like, it's only a bit of sauce, like a couple of
Yeah.
spoons of sauce.
Fuck
I was
off.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
Had a bit of
I'm with you on that one. I'm with you on that one. Chicago Town. Now, as we know, I'm quite a pizza connoisseur. Microwave them for a minute and a half, and then you can blast them in the oven for 5 minutes.
That's a good idea. Well, what about like I've not done this, but it just sort of jumped in my mind then. So if you
Yeah.
microwave them for like a minute
Yeah.
and then throw them in the air fryer, that might work.
Yeah, I've done that. The only problem is the bottom doesn't crisp as well in the air fryer as it does in the oven.
Right.
A little bit
because
soggy bottom. You don't want that.
there you go. So
But yeah, you can do them 5 minutes in the oven if you microwave them a little bit first.
all right,
Yeah.
I'll bear that in mind.
This is fucking groundbreaking radio.
Yeah, don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah, your subscribers dropping off. Fucking clip show, and then they're talking about microwaving pizzas.
Yeah. Right, okay, let's get cracking then, shall we?
Yeah, what have you got for us this week, James?
So we've got another suggestion this week, surprisingly enough. Yeah, that's 2 in a row, if you don't count the clip show. And this one comes from a friend of ours called Sean. Hi, Sean.
Hi, Sean.
Yeah.
Long time no speak for me.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, I don't think he listens to the podcast. He just knows that we do it. But he does our T-shirts, you see, so he knows that we does. So I was having a chat with him, and I said, "Oh yeah, we're looking for suggestions, to be honest, and we're going to do sort of various things. But at the moment, when suggestions come in, we will honour them and we will do suggestions. So what do you reckon? Have you got anything you want to do?" And he says it's quite topical at the moment because the Africa Cup of Nations is on. I don't know if you know the football tournament in Africa is currently taking place. So he said, "Why don't you do something about AFCON? Or why don't you do AFCON?"
Mm-hmm.
So I said, "Okay, fair enough." But what do you mean AFCON? Like, it's most dangerous what? Players, teams, nations? So he just turned around to me and said, "I don't fucking know. It's your podcast, mate." So it's not really a suggestion. He's just said some words.
Pushed you in a direction.
He's pushed me in a direction. So this week we're going to be talking about the African Cup of Nations.
Excellent. I can't wait. AFCON, it's a weird thing to me because, like, all I know it is that annoying tournament that takes some of my players away.
That's
we kind of need them. You know?
An interesting comment, because this is what I will come on to this actually. Yeah, so I'm glad you said that. Because it's something we will discuss a bit later on in the evening. So, Africa. Africa's got 54 countries. There's over 1,000 languages spoke, and it contains 1.2 billion people.
It always amazes me how many people just think Africa's a country.
This is what I was just about to move on to. It gets such bad press here in the West. Bad things happen in Africa. Poverty, famine, war, exploitation, But when you see it on the news, I think a lot of people kind of go, well that's Africa.
Yeah.
There's like a distorted image of it just being completely run down and people, everyone just lives in absolute poverty, which is incorrect.
Yeah.
I think there's also a bit of a distorted image about Africa that some people... Now, I'm going to touch on subjects here that people might not agree with me on, and they might get a bit of comeback on it, but I think some people perhaps think that, there is a distorted image of Africa that if it wasn't for the colonialisation of the continent, that it would still actually be in the Dark Ages and the West saved Africa, there is this kind of sort of underlying thing that you see on the news every now and then. There's been a military coup, and it's like, that happens in Africa, but it seems to be forgotten that it's so huge and it's so vast, and there's so many nations. Like you say, I think a lot of people do just view it as one big block, like a country in itself. That's Africa.
Yeah, just starving Marvin.
With
but like some lions, and that's what a lot of people think of.
Absolutely, yeah. But you think like Tunisia, right at the north, all the way down to South Africa. Excuse me. That's a bigger distance than Australia to India, or like London to New York.
And you actually look, you're talking about people saying, the West saved Africa, and they'd still be, running about in the jungles and all these sorts of things, the stereotypes. But the Egyptians were one of the most advanced civilizations thousands of years ago. Yeah,
there's lots of wealth in Africa. It just perhaps gets filtered to the wrong people, And like I say, it's not everybody thinks this. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there might be some views or some opinions somewhere that's how it stands. And like I say, it's a huge, vast continent. But then one bad thing happens somewhere.
Yeah,
people just go, well, Africa,
Yeah.
So
That'd be like if people, say there's trouble in Estonia or Lithuania, people going, "Oh, typical Europe."
well, exactly. Yeah, you've got the war in Ukraine at the moment.
Yeah.
In the 90s, it was
There was the Yugoslavian war, wasn't there?
Yugoslavian war. Yeah,
Yeah.
loads of shit happened there. But then, like you say, it's like people who aren't living in Europe going, well, that's Europe. They always have wars there, don't they?
Yeah.
So it's a similar sort of thing. And I think whilst we go through this discussion and this journey, I think that's something to perhaps keep in mind, maybe. And we'll see where we go.
Yeah.
So AFCON, which is what we're going to talk about, is the Africa Cup of Nations, and it's a football tournament similar to the European Cup or the Copa America, the South American one.
Yeah.
So it's where all the nations of that tournament get together, go through qualifying, get together, and then have a big game of footy, a big kickabout. The first tournament was in 1957.
Right. That's been on a while.
Yeah, so nearly 70 odd years. At the first tournament, there was only 3 participating nations. Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia.
Wow.
South Africa were going to play in it, but everyone fucked them off because of the apartheid. So they were like, no.
Yeah, they had a few troubles down there, didn't they?
They did, yeah. They were bad racists, so they just went, no, we're not having you in this. So since then, the tournament, as all international tournaments, seem to have expanded greatly, and now there's actually a qualifying tournament before the main tournament.
Right.
Yeah, so it was in 1998. It was 16, and then in 2017, it then expanded to 24.
Wow.
So 24 teams.
Euros,
yeah. So it's a big tournament. Yeah. Egypt is the most successful nation in the Cup's history.
Is it?
Yeah, they've won it 7 times.
Wow.
And they've also won it an unprecedented 3 consecutive times in 2006, 2008, and 2010.
Wow. So is it every 2 years?
Yeah, it must be, yeah.
Yeah.
Every 2 years, yeah.
Yeah, because it was only 2 years ago that I remember so I'm a Rangers fan and you're a Liverpool fan, and I know you lose players to it as well. It feels like you kind of lose players to it all the time, so it can't be every 4 years.
Yeah, it must be, every 2 years then, yeah.
And the Asian Cup as well, because our rival Celtic have a lot of Asian players that seem to disappear off as well, so that must be every 2 years.
That's going on at the moment at the same time, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's kind of balanced it a little bit.
Yeah, because Liverpool's got a Japanese player who's playing over there. Because when I heard that he was going, I thought, that's weird. He's not African. What's going on? So there's the Asia Cup. So I suppose the Asia Cup is the equivalent of the African Cup of Nations.
Absolutely.
For Asia, yeah. So right.
They must be every 2 years. I don't know if I'd want the Euros every 2 years. It would feel less special. But
yeah, maybe.
When you said Egypt, I would have, if you'd had asked me who'd won it the most times, I would have probably had a stab at someone like Cameroon. Egypt. I know they've got like Salah now, but I can't really think of amazing Egyptian players from the past.
I can't think. I do have a couple of stats later on about the winners, but yeah, Egypt are up there with 7. So 2006, 8, and 10. That's before Salah, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it just goes to show how little knowledge we have about African football, I suppose. I think that's the thing, isn't it? If you don't have an African player playing for you, you don't really notice it. It's only when it impacts your team personally that you start thinking, oh, right, okay.
Yeah, that's it.
So AFCON 2023, which is the one that's taking place at the moment, even though it's 2024, it's the 34th edition of the tournament.
Wow.
Organised by the Confederation of African Football, or CAF, is the name for short. It's hosted by the Ivory Coast. It's the second time the Ivory Coast have hosted it. The first time they did it was in 1984.
Oh, wow.
So initially it was going to take place in the summer of 2023. And, the reason being is not to interfere with the sort of European club teams and competitions that are ongoing at the same time.
Yeah.
But that was postponed. So in July 2022, There's a lot of adverse weather in the summertime in Ivory Coast.
Oh, right.
It is in the middle of Africa. I think it's quite near the equator. So they
Yeah.
decided to change it and move it to the winter,
Right.
the northern hemisphere winter. So it's currently taking place. It started on the 13th of January, and it'll be ongoing until the 11th of February. That's the final. Just basic standard stuff now. So it's as a tournament usually is. There's a group stage, 6 groups of 4. Top 2 proceed into the knockout stage. Because the tournament's so big now, there is an opportunity for third place teams to go through. So they go into like a mini league, and then depending on their performance, they then go on to the knockout. And the knockout's the standard sort of round robin thing, with the 2 sides of the draw, and then they sort of knock each other out and get to the final on the 11th. So just briefly, records. As I mentioned, Egypt have won it the most times, 7. Cameroon, which you mentioned, have won it 5 times, and Ghana have won it 4 times.
Right. See, I always think of I think of World Cups, and I can't think of many I've seen Egypt in, but Cameroon are usually there, Ghana.
Yeah, Cameroon, like famously in 1990 with Roger Miller, they did well in that tournament, didn't they? And do you remember they had that kit where it had no sleeves?
The sleeveless kit, yeah. FIFA wouldn't. I'm sure they've played African Cup of Nations games in it, but FIFA wouldn't let them wear it in the World Cup.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, they weren't allowed it. I thought that was pretty cool, though.
Yeah, I suppose it's warm there, isn't it? But Ivory Coast as well. They had a smashing team a few years ago, didn't they?
Yeah, like Drogba, and there was a few others, wasn't there? But I think from what I read, like Drogba never really did anything in the African Cup of Nations. He was always sort of this superstar, global superstar, and he was always expected to make an impact. But whenever he played in the tournament, he never really did anything. So Egypt in 1957, Ghana in 1963, and South Africa in 1996 all won the competition on the debut appearance.
Oh, wow.
Samuel Eto'o, do you remember him?
Yeah.
He was good, wasn't
he? Yeah.
So he's the competition top scorer with 18. Not in one tour. This is over 6 tournaments.
So he's from Cameroon?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So he didn't score 18 in one go. It's between 2000 and 2010. Yeah. And he's also got the record for attending the most tournaments in 6.
Right. Did he play for Liverpool?
No, I think we looked to sign him at some point.
Yeah, there was always rumours, wasn't there?
Yeah. He was at Barcelona for a bit. Inter Milan as well, I think. But yeah, he was a legend. Still is.
Yeah.
So he's played in 6 tournaments. A few others have played in 6 tournaments as well. Now, you know my record for pronouncing names, so I'll give these a go. Kalusha Bayala of Zambia, Andre Ayew, I know him, and Asamoah Gyan. They've all scored in 6 separate AFCON tournaments.
Right.
What else have I got here? Just for context, for a bit of knowledge, so you can tell all your friends about AFCON records. Rigobert Song, he's a Liverpool player.
Yes,
Cameroon.
I remember him. Yeah.
Ahmed Hassan of Egypt. They've appeared. So hang on, I've got this wrong here. Samuel Eto'o and all those other players that I mentioned, Andre Ayew, they've all scored in 6 separate tournaments. Right. So that's that record. Rigobert Song and Ahmed Hassan, so Song of Cameroon, Hassan of Egypt, they've both appeared in 8 separate competitions. Right. So they've got the record for the most appearances, where the other players I mentioned have got the record for scoring in the most tournaments.
Right. Okay.
Right. Clear?
Yeah.
Good. You're not falling asleep on me yet? No?
No, not yet. No.
Right, good. And Egypt have hosted the most competitions. Yeah. With 5, the last being 2019.
Is there any correlation with winning it and being the host, or is the host just chosen randomly? It's not like Eurovision or anything, no?
No, I think it's just they do like a draw and stuff, and you can apply for it and things like that. I think I did read somewhere that Cameroon were going to host one quite recently, but they couldn't do it because they couldn't build the stadiums in time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Very quickly. There's your stats and your figures, so you can take them away and do whatever you want with them. Put them in the bin if you want. Who cares?
Yeah, we'll be. Yeah. Okay. That was interesting.
No, it wasn't. But anyway,
It was interesting actually. It was. I've learned stuff because, like you said, I think we're a bit ignorant to it. Like I would never have thought of Egypt as being, the best in the tournament, and
yeah, I was a little bit surprised at that as well because, like you say, Cameroon, I think have got perhaps a
What do you think?
bigger reputation. Ivory Coast, you mentioned Drogba, but then you
Yeah.
got Toure, Kola Toure, and all them. You know,
Do you remember in the 90s it was like Nigeria were going to win the World Cup?
yeah, Nigeria as well.
They were gonna
Like,
be
yeah,
The,
they were
the
big,
big
didn't they?
team. Yeah.
And I think that was
Um,
Pele. Pele was like, oh yeah, in the 2000s, an African team's going to win the World Cup. Never happened. Okay, so I know I've done quite a bit of talking, so I'm going to throw you a question. And now it's not a trick question. I'm not going to go, state of you. It's a question, just a hypothetical question, and we'll come and revisit it at the end of the podcast.
Okay.
Right. So, I've got a gun to your head, right?
Okay.
And there's 2 games of football that are going to take place in about 5 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got no choice. You've got to watch one of them. Okay. Well, the first one is Mexico against Germany.
Mm-hmm.
That's on Channel 1. And on Channel 2, it's Morocco against Senegal. Which one are you going to watch?
Well, the obvious answer, and I think the answer that you're probably expecting, is Mexico against Germany.
Right, okay.
Because it seems more glamorous.
Yeah,
but
right.
I also don't know any Moroccan or Senegalese players.
Okay, right. So,
Except I do, because our best player's from Senegal just now.
yeah, and Mane as well. Sadio Mane.
I'm sure Big Seamus from Senegal.
Right. So, I know FIFA rankings don't really mean that much, in the grand scheme of things, but they do give a general gauge to the sort of ability of a team, I suppose, or
Yeah.
It might not be exact, but you can kind of go, well, they're good. So this might surprise you a little bit. So Mexico are ranked 15 in the FIFA rankings, and Germany are ranked 16.
Okay.
Morocco are ranked 13, and Senegal are ranked 20.
Mm-hmm.
So on the FIFA rankings, Morocco are a better team than Germany at the moment, and Mexico as well. Senegal are slightly below the Mexico and Germany teams.
Yeah.
So, as I say, we'll come back to it, but I just think it's quite interesting that you've picked, maybe with your arm twisted behind your back a little bit, the Mexico-Germany one, because you mentioned, well, it's the more glamorous one, but in the view of the FIFA ranking system, the 4 sides are all pretty similarly ranked and similarly have the same sort of ability. So anyway, we will come back to this. I'm just trying to sort of make a point.
I have just looked it up. Rangers' best flair player from this season, Abdullah Sima, is actually from Senegal. So
right,
there would have been a chance I would have watched that just because he's the one player for my team.
Yeah. So you got like a vested interest in it.
Yeah, but 6 months ago, I would never have picked that game. I would have gone for the Germany-Mexico.
Yeah, right, okay, good. That's good to know, that's kind of what I was going for anyway. So I'm glad you picked the right one for the purposes of this experiment. So, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I was going to say, I do know what you're kind of getting at with that, but and I do think to the World Cup, which is where you see all these teams mix, and some of the games involved in the African nations are brilliant. I remember some amazing games with Ghana, and do you remember the World Cup? Liverpool bought a couple of players on the back of it. Were Senegal,
yeah, El Hadj Diouf.
Oh yeah,
we had absolutely blinding World Cup in 2002, and I thought we were buying an absolute beast, and he was shit. He's like one of the worst players that's ever played for Liverpool.
Yeah, we signed him, and we knew he was shit then. He'd already been at Liverpool and proved to everyone he was shit, and he was just a thug. He was, yeah.
It's like, this isn't anything to do with him being from Africa. He was just a bad dick. Some of the ex-Rangers players just say he was just a dick in real life as well. Yeah. I think
just
that seems to be sort of like a common theme running through his career. Everyone's just going, he's a bad dick. Anyway, so moving on.
Mhm.
So before the tournament started, I sent you a message, a WhatsApp message, and it was a tweet. I don't know if you remember. It was about a chap called Gilor Kanga.
Yes.
Do you remember? Do you remember what it said?
Not really, no.
Okay, well, it was something along the lines that he was being investigated because he claimed that he was born in 1990.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I remember it now.
So he said that he was born in 1990, but his mum died in 1986.
Yes.
Right, okay. So Kanga, he's an attacking midfield player. He currently plays for Red Star Belgrade, and he's a member of the Gabon squad who are currently at
Right.
AFCON.
Okay.
Yeah, as I say, I've seen it. You probably saw it as well, as well as me sending you that message. It's been everywhere. It's been all in the press and everything like that. So I thought this was like quite a good starting point because I didn't know what to do about AFCON. I really didn't know what angle to take on it. I thought this one might be quite a good sort of starting point. There's issues surrounding people's birthdays and birth dates with African players. So I thought I'll have a look into this and I'll see what it's about. So on face value, it looks like this is hilarious. He doesn't even know when he was born. Like, it's stupid. So the story itself, I've looked at and investigated. It's actually 3 years old. It's a 3-year-old story. It comes from 2021. And I'll give you some sort of context to it, some background. So in April 2021, the Congolese Football Federation issued legal proceedings against Gabon, so the team that Kanga's playing for. And they claimed that they had evidence that he was in fact 4 years older and he was born in Congo to Congolese parents, and he was eligible to play for Gabon. And they said that Gabon had given him a fake birth certificate and citizenship just so that he could play for that team.
Right.
So now, in context, the motive for this, as far as I can see, is that Congo had missed out in qualifying for AFCON.
Right.
By a point behind Gabon.
Ah. Right.
And I think the view was that they hoped if they could prove that Kanga was ineligible to play for Gabon, that Gabon would be deducted points, and then Congo would qualify instead. Right?
Sorry to interrupt, but can I actually ask what makes someone's nationality? So let's say a 7-year-old kid comes over on an aeroplane from South Korea. No parents, and Britain give him a passport and say, right, well, you can just be British because we don't know where you're from, because you've got no birth certificate, no passport. We're going to make you British. What would FIFA do when he became 18 and England said, right, do you want to play for us?
Well, if he's a citizen, if he's got citizenship, then he's eligible to play for England then, isn't he?
So if Gabon had given this guy citizenship, I don't get how you can actually say not from that country.
I mean, they don't have the sort of the legal position. I mean, certain countries you have to go through certain procedures and regulations to qualify for citizenship. So I'm guessing that what Congo were claiming was that he was perhaps rushed through, and they just said, "Oh, just be one of us," I
think they'd have to prove that at some stage he had a Congo passport, and he had genuine Congo documents, and then they were scrubbed, and then new ones made up for Gabon.
Well, that's it. I mean, just going on, the claim was dismissed anyway by CAF in 2021, so it's not even. It might be true. I mean, even if it's true, right? I think this is the point that I'm trying to make. Even if it's true, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, there's no age requirement for AFCON. Like, it's not an under 21 tournament. He can be 30, he can be 55. It doesn't matter at all. Like how old he is. If he's got citizenship for Gabon and he's playing for him, it doesn't matter how old he is. It just seems that Congo's obviously got some ulterior motive to try and get themselves into this competition.
Just looking for something.
But the problem I've got with this is that we didn't see any of that. I saw that tweet. I thought, that's quite funny, isn't it? Like, because in my mind I'm thinking, this happens all the time, doesn't it?
Typical Africa.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the point that I'm trying to make. It's not typical Africa. It's typical Western media. They push this kind of narrative. They go, "Oh, that's crazy. Look how stupid they are. Like, don't even know when they were born. This is mad." But if you get the context and you get the background to it, and you start looking into it properly, none of it's relevant. It's stupid. I did it because I thought it was fun. I thought, "Oh, look at that phrase. That's well funny."
Yeah.
But, actually thinking about it, it's nonsense. Like, why is that one of the main stories that's surrounding this tournament? That some dude is perhaps. Yeah, okay. If he's lied about his age, there are serious, legal repercussions about that. But in terms of the AFCON actual tournament itself, this isn't a sports story. This isn't sports news. This is a nonsense, and that's all we hear about this tournament. It's mad.
But do you remember Roger Miller? I mean, every time you read the story, he was older in the World Cup.
Yeah.
Roger Miller apparently was in his 50s in the last World Cup and stuff like that because there were disputes about his birthday and stuff like that. And
but why is that important in the context of a World Cup
matter.
or an AFCON for nations? It doesn't matter.
I'm sure
that's the story that was doing the rounds.
Yeah.
Look at this guy. He said he was born after his mum died. That's funny, isn't it? That's weird.
But that's the story is, haha, crazy African guy tells everyone he was born 3 years after his mum died. That's the way it's presented.
Yeah, but that's not the story at all.
No.
The story is there was a claim from a country whose nose had been put out of joint because they missed out on qualifying for a tournament, and they issued legal proceedings because they thought that something was wrong, which, by the way, was 3 years ago. So it's not even relevant today, and the claims have been dismissed anyway.
Yeah, so it wasn't an under-18s tournament or anything.
Yeah, that's it, exactly. If it was like an under-12s and he rocked up and he's 34, then maybe there might be some questions asked. It's got no relevance to whether he can play for Gabon in AFCON at all.
Yeah. So I remember there was I can't remember who it was, a Scottish player, like Colin Hendry or someone said, I haven't retired playing for Scotland, but they just haven't picked me for 20 years.
Yeah, there you go. You'd never retire.
They phone me tomorrow, I'll nip down and play. But
I just found that really interesting that there's the angle that some media outlets have kind of gone down. The focus should be about the tournament and the football, and a celebration of that. But
it's portrayed though as look at this daft African guy.
Look at this stupid guy, lying about who'd lie about their age. Well, no one. So and so moving on from that, I mean, this is a similar sort of thread, right? Now, this is about the World Cup. I mean, it does have some AFCON links, and it's about an African team, so it is relevant. And it's about Zaire, a team called Zaire. It's a country, Zaire, and the team in the 1974 World Cup.
Were they playing Brazil?
They were, yeah. So what do you know about... I'm talking a lot, so you tell me what you know about this.
I know about the mental free kick.
Yeah. What happened?
They were in the wall. Brazil were getting ready to take the free kick, and a Zaire lad ran out of the wall and just bluted it up the field.
Yeah. And what's the narrative around that?
The narrative is that they didn't know the rules.
Exactly.
I believe that's nonsense.
Well, I'm going to tell you now, exactly. And I'm glad that you know about this, because
crazy Africans don't know how to play football.
Exactly. Right, yeah.
Usual narrative, yeah.
So the 1974 World Cup, it's the... West Germany won it. They beat the Netherlands in the final. It was when the Netherlands were just awesome. The total football. They had Johan Cruyff. I think they've been coined as like one of the best teams never to win the World Cup and stuff like that. Yeah. And as you mentioned, so the tournament went on. It was before our time, so I don't know too much about the tournament. I didn't really have time to go, and it's not really relevant anyway. But I didn't have time to go into full detail about what happened.
Yeah.
But as you say, perhaps the most iconic moment of that World Cup is when that Zaire player dashed out of the wall and just absolutely blasted the ball. Like it seemed like it was for no reason. And the narrative is he didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
So the chap's name was Mwepi Ilunga,
Okay.
and he was a right
was
back. Mwepe Ilunga.
Okay.
He was a right back playing for Zaire.
Mhm.
At the time, John Motson, famous John Motson, the commentator, he called it a bizarre moment of African ignorance.
Right.
And it was brushed off as just ignorance. And, then, like you say, the narrative is this guy doesn't know what's going on. And he just...
Yeah.
You used to see it on, like, do you remember these programs? And, like, they put them on at Christmas and stuff. And it's like, you used to get them as DVDs, like, as a random gift. Football bloopers with, like, Dan Baker and stuff, like John Bishop and shit like that.
Yeah.
That was always on it. It's like, look at this guy, doesn't know what's going on.
But that's how I know it, because I've seen it on YouTube. Look at this daft
Yeah,
guy
like Sky One on Christmas
doesn't
morning.
know what he's doing.
Danny Baker going wax lyrical about this guy, and you're like, and to be fair, and plus when you're watching that, you were like young as well, so you just go, that must be it.
There's always the clip of the poor lad that keeps getting dropped off the stretcher.
yeah. But like in reality, though, to suggest that like an international footballer, doesn't know the rules, like that's just so disrespectful. I think it's just,
I know.
It's just, I can't believe that. I think I'm absolutely positive that people still think that's the case. I'm going to tell you it's not right now.
I think most people that haven't looked into it, but I'll be honest with you, I thought that was the case until
I did.
It wasn't that long ago. It was before you said you were doing this. I can't remember what I was doing, but I remember reading about it, saying that, and I did read why he said he did it. But I can't remember what the reason was.
Yeah, don't spoil it.
Okay. But I can't, because I can't remember. So,
right. Okay,
I'm desperate for you to tell me.
Yeah, we'll go into it because it's a fascinating story, right?
Yeah.
So, 1974, the World Cup. Africa only had one representative, one team that could qualify. Right. So, given that only one team could get through, qualification was like brutal. It's like, everyone's trying to get to this World Cup. Everyone thought Morocco would get through easily, but Zaire were a class apart. They won all of their qualifying games in this little mini tournament, scored 9 goals, conceding once, and they beat Morocco 3-0 along the way. So after everyone was like, whoa, okay, well, Morocco were going to go and tear it up, but they've just been beat 3-0 by this team, so they're going to go and definitely see some magic here.
I'm just looking at it. Actually, Scotland win their group.
I'm just about to say. So the draw wasn't kind. The World Cup draw wasn't kind to Zaire. It put them in a group with Brazil, Yugoslavia, and Scotland. Your beloved Scotland were also in their group. But this is when Scotland were good. So
Yugoslavia were a hell of a team back then as well.
Yeah. I think Yugoslavia had done really well in the previous tournament, getting to the semi-finals. Scotland had the likes of Billy Bremner, Kenny Dalglish to their squad. This is a Scotland team that were tipped to win the World Cup at some point. It was either this one or the one
78. Ali's starting army.
That's right. They were like one of the best teams in the world at the time. So poor Zaire, they're getting put up against these absolutely brilliant teams. They were kind of hoping for a bit of an easier draw, but wasn't to be. Prior to the World Cup, so the African Cup of Nations 1974 was held earlier in the year.
Right.
So they see, told you it'd be relevant. And Zaire would actually go on to beat Zambia in the final 2-0.
Right.
So I found out this was a replay. I thought that was really weird. To have like an international tournament with a replay of the final.
Wow.
So it was 2-2 in the first leg, and then Zaire went on beat Zambia 2-0 in the replay. So they were, champions of Africa.
Yeah, quite clearly no mugs.
Exactly, a good team. To be fair, they'd just beaten Morocco, who were classed as a good team by a decent amount. They were champions of Africa. I think at this time in world football, like you think about now, right? There's, I'd say, sort of maybe 3 or 4 different styles of football that teams play. So you get like the long ball, the Genga press type thing, and they're all back in 1974. I'd say like nations had distinctive styles.
Mm-hmm.
So like the total football of Holland and the Netherlands, Brazil, sort of samba style type thing.
Where?
Yeah, so then like Zaire had this kind of style which was like kind of a quick, punchy, attacking style, sort of quick movement, a lot of flair. And according to reports, Scotland, when they played their first game against Scotland, it was a bit of a shock to them. They weren't expecting it. They were thinking, we'll just rock up. There shouldn't be any problems here. Again, the arrogance of it, but never mind. So they were a bit taken back by the ability of this team. I mean, they did go on and win sort of 2-0, but Zaire put on a good performance, and the sort of media and stuff all praise. Like, well done, that's a good result for you. Pat on the head, well done.
You didn't get beat by that much.
Yeah, exactly. I think I probably made that bit up, but anyway, there was a lot of praise for them. They were doing quite well. It did unfortunately go a bit wrong for them though, and it wasn't because of the media or the press. It was because of Zaire's dictator, President Mobutu. So he wasn't too happy that Zaire got beat. Right. Now I looked into his rise to power, and it's not really appropriate for the podcast, and it's not what we're talking about. But it is worth looking into if you're into sort of war and stuff. Who's into war?
He wasn't a very nice man.
The usual dictatorship. Dictator dick, so he was responsible. So he's like, this proud dictator, and he's, look at my nation, look how strong we are. He was the dude that arranged the Rumble in the Jungle. Right. So the Muhammad Ali George Foreman fight. Yeah. So that was in Zaire, and Mobutu was responsible for getting that all sorted. Flexing his muscles. Look at my great nation.
Basically, what all the Saudis are doing now.
I guess so. Yeah. I mean, kind of.
They're just buying
sports washing.
Sports
washing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Essentially, yeah. I guess. Just for a bit of context, then. So the Zaire players at the time it was a performance-based salary. Right. So they didn't have a fixed salary. It was just how well you do. You do well, you get more. And now that they've had like great success, so the AFCON and qualifying for the World Cup, and this Mobutu is like throwing gifts at him and just giving him loads of money, like, well done lads, this is all it. So given it was the World Cup, I mean, you can kind of forgive him for going, right, we're in the World Cup now, I'm expecting a shitload of money, like. Yeah. But they didn't get anything. Nothing. What happened was there was a fund set up. So this fund, everyone put in a big pot, and that was for the trip, for the staff, for the players to go there to the World Cup. And then naturally, diplomats, these like the politicians who just fucking rock up and like, I love football. So they sort of all went along. But then after the first game against Scotland, like the players were like, can we have some like money for like food and that? and they just went, it's all gone.
Fucking hell.
We haven't got any money left. So naturally the players were kind of, well, fuck off then. You're like not playing. And they said, you think like this is 1974 as well, so think about it, like communication isn't great. Yeah. They can't speak to their families. They've not seen their families for 2 months. Right. And they're basically being asked to play football for free. This is their livelihoods, their jobs. Basically, lads, we've got no money. No, you can't phone your families. You've got a game against Yugoslavia. Yeah. And the players just said, well, we're not playing. Really? There's absolutely no way we're playing. Like, how do you think that went down? To this dictator, who's this proud dictator, who's so proud of his nation, is you can imagine, can't you?
Like to say he was a bit pissed off,
he was a bit pissed off, so he said to them, look, if you don't play, I'm going to put you all in prison. Basically, it's fucking crack, isn't it? If you don't play, you're going to prison, and you'll never see your family again. We're not talking like British open prisons. We're probably talking sort of hard labour here, So, and then like FIFA as well, they were in a bit of a panic because this is their sort of prestige tournament, and one of the teams is going, no, we're not doing it, man. We're not playing. So they're putting pressure on the players.
Yeah.
The president's putting pressure on the players. So they go, right, okay. They finally crack and say, okay, we'll play Yugoslavia.
Mm-hmm.
They might as well just stayed in the dressing room, to be honest. So they did play, but they got thumped 9-0.
9-0. Jeez.
Yeah. So it seems like it was a bit of a protest performance. I don't think they tried, really.
See, that's really annoying because I looked at that group and Scotland, Yugoslavia and Brazil all had 4 points. And Scotland went out on goal difference by 1 goal.
Right, well, you've got this...
So if they'd have tried, we might not have gone out. We went out on goal difference, 1 goal.
1 goal, so if it was 8-0. So the 9-0, it's just it's the biggest defeat of all time in a World Cup. Jointly with Hungary beating South Korea in 1954. So if it was just 8-0.
Well, to be fair, it was Brazil that had that 1 goal more than us. So.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, Yugoslavia topped the group.
So this Mobutu proper fucked up Scotland there.
What we could have done is with them not trying against Scotland. And then we scored a few more goals.
Yeah, that's it. So they got thumped 9-0. And then, of course, Mobutu went absolutely apeshit. If he saw it as a national humiliation, a personal humiliation. He started to take it personally. And he said to the players then, if you lose by 3 goals or more against Brazil, you're not coming home.
Right.
I'm not going to let you back into the country. You'll never see your family again.
Yeah.
I mean, there are reports that it was by 5 goals, but
we're
not too sure. It was either 3 or 5.
If they hadn't have played against Yugoslavia would have been awarded a 3-0 win.
Well, yeah. So
that would have been better than
Scotland would have gone through.
Yeah. But from Zaire's point of view, they'd have been better not turning up than turning up and losing 9-0.
I guess so. I think it might have been a bit of a protest, though.
Yeah.
Was that rule in place, though, then, in 1974? So it might have been different. Who knows? Yeah. So don't lose by 3 goals. If you lose by 3 goals, more than 3 goals, you're basically not allowed back in your home country. And this guy's bonkers, isn't he? So they did play Brazil, and this is the famous game, So and they lost 3-0.
Right.
So right on the money, So they were lucky, and they did manage to get home.
See, I wonder if they had a word with Brazil, and Brazil were like, right, we only need to score 3, and then we're a goal ahead of Scotland. And you don't want us to score more than 3.
So we'll just take it easy on you.
You let us score 3, we'll beat Scotland, and then you don't get killed. And your families and stuff like that.
No, surely football's not corrupt, is it?
Nah, definitely not.
So this is the game with the famous world free kick.
Yeah,
it was the Brazil game, as you mentioned. So it's Mwepe Ilunga. He was one of the more vocal members of the team. He was fuming. And as you've seen, the clip's readily available for anybody. Perhaps you can put it on the Facebook page. I don't know. And Brazil have a free kick on the edge of the box, the Zaire box. Everyone's getting setting up the wall. The free kick takers are discussing who's going to take it. Then this guy just runs out of the wall and just absolutely blasts the spot. And the way he hits it, though, I think it's just pure rage. When you read this and you see the context behind it, and you start to understand why he's done it, he's run out and just gone fuck off, and just completely leathered it.
Yeah, makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah.
So was he just disrupting the game, or
he said later on he wanted to get sent off?
Right.
So just as like a final act of defiance. They knew they were going home, and they were just absolutely fuming.
Right.
I just wanted to leave the pitch. I just had enough. It was just horrendous. This was supposed to be a celebration of African football. They'd done so well to get there, and it had all just been taken away from them so quickly, just because of this dickhead dictator.
Yeah.
So he's just said, that's it.
Have you seen the wee clip at the fairground where the boy goes to the thing where you got to score a goal?
Yeah. I think I said he just absolutely
blooters it over all the other rides.
Yeah. This is a similar sort of thing. Yeah, he just absolutely hammered it. So that's the context. That's the background. But for years and years and years, there's just been this misconception that these players didn't know the rules. You know, so a player who played for one of the biggest teams in Zaire at club level. He recently won the Africa Cup of Nations. At that point, he'd had 21 caps in one of the best national teams in the continent at the time. But he didn't know the rules. It's it's mad, isn't it? Like
it is. Yeah. Like, it's like I keep saying it. It's just this kind of crazy Africans.
Yeah. Just like a stereotypical view of like the African player, particularly back then as well in like the 70s. That they were a bit thick, lacked intelligence. I think that view was quite common then. I mean, dare I say it? Like I think it's still a view that some horrible people still hold today. Yeah, I think more so like then, I guess. But then, so Canada also played in that tournament, right? Yeah. They're not like a great footballing nation, right? No. But imagine if like a white Canadian player just ran out the wall and blasted the ball. You wouldn't instantly go, look at the state of him, he doesn't know the rules. Everyone would go,
I wonder why he did that.
Exactly, yeah. Everyone would go, that's a bit weird. Like, what's going on in his head? Like, so it's just weird that there's the two sides to the coin. Like, the white player, oh, that's a bit weird. There must be something going on, a bit mad there. The black player, fucking hell, whoa. He doesn't know what's going on in him. Like, you just find it really weird. Like, just funny. Well, not funny. It's the wrong word, isn't it? But I just find it weird that like these are the stories that hit the headlines, when we're talking about AFCON and African football and things like that. Like AFCON, right? It's this competition. It's got a competition that has a team like Nigeria, right? Like an industrial powerhouse. It's got some of the best players in the world. I can't remember the guy's name. The Napoli striker. Apparently, he's sought after. He's got a great strike record. Now, in this tournament, they're playing against a nation called Cape Verde. Their population's smaller than Sheffield. They've got a player who plays for Shamrock Rovers playing for them. Yeah. Like, that's a well more interesting story than some dude that's got a made-up birth certificate.
Yeah, true.
But which one have you heard more about recently, though?
Yeah, it's just the daft one, isn't it?
Absolutely. And like the media, they miss stories like like Zambia in 1994 they got to the final. Right? Zambia, tiny nation, they beat Senegal, Mali, Ivory Coast, and they only just lost out to Nigeria in the final. Right? But this is less than a year after their entire squad was killed in a plane crash. That's what a story, right? At 96 South Africa won it, and this like 2 years just after the apartheid had been abolished. And then even in the last AFCON, Gambia, they got to the quarter-final. This is the tournament debut. They got to the quarter-final. It's got a population of less than 3 million, and it had 2 free agents in the squad and 2 League Two players. This is an international tournament, right? Yeah. These are the stories that should be hitting the headline. It's just this narrative that really sort of bothers me. Like, so in the opening game, I brushed over this. I probably should have looked more into it. So there was a bit of a controversy. So I think the ref blew his final whistle on the 85th minute. Yeah. Then everyone kicked off. Like, what are you doing? So he's like, oh, sorry. And then restarted the game and then blew it on the 90th. So
I saw that, actually, yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly what happened, but it was something along those lines. And that was just picked up on immediately. Yeah. Like, it was in all the papers. Look at the state of this. Like, the referee doesn't know what he's doing. Do you remember in like the World Cup? Was it like 2012 or something? English referee Graham Poll. He gave 3 yellow cards to her.
Yes, yeah. Was it Graham Poll? I thought
it was. Yeah.
It wasn't Howard Webb.
No, I thought it was Howard Webb as well. No, but I did look it up. Yeah. So this was Croatia against Australia, and he gave 3 yellow cards to a Croatian player. That's a bad fuck up. That. Yeah. That's worse than blowing the whistle 5 minutes early and then going, oh, I made a mistake.
But I read something like they used 2 watches or something, and something had happened, and he kind of just had to have a stab at it. And
Just have a guess. Like,
you're like, yeah, another 5 minutes, mate. But like,
oh, the AFCON guy, right?
yeah, it was like a technology fail or something.
Right.
It wasn't. He didn't go 85 minutes, right? I'll blow the whistle.
Yeah.
There was
That's how it was portrayed.
Yeah.
But Graham Poll, on the other hand,
Mm.
completely fucked up and
Yeah.
issued three yellow cards. That was, I mean, it was a bit of a thing at the time, but it was a bit like, oh, that's silly, wasn't it? You know.
I know. Nothing.
You know, when
Nothing
people
really
talk about
happened, did it?
no, it was never like, it was just a bit of sort of a paragraph in a match report or something.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like a big look at the state of this referee. That's I don't know. I might be wrong. That's just my view. That's my opinion. Like, you know, and people talk about corruption in African football, but the state of Sepp Blatter.
Yeah.
Like I don't think he's allowed a football in his house. He's so corrupt. He's not allowed anywhere near a football anymore.
The thing about like Sepp Blatter is the World Cup in Qatar. The whole world sat there going, "This is corrupt."
yeah, and he's there with like a big pile of money. It's like,
why is this tiny little nation that has nothing to do with football getting the World Cup other than someone's put a load of money in someone's pocket?
That's and everyone knew it. And
credit to Qatar, they did it fine, but there's African countries that should host it. There's South American countries. There's look at the European countries. Why is England the home of football? The stadiums they've got, and Qatar are building in a world where we're supposed to be looking after the environment. They're knocking up stadiums that will never be used again.
Air-conditioned stadiums,
stadiums
in the middle of the desert, and and then it got like so far down the line, they were like, "Oh yeah, it gets pretty hot in the summer in the desert, doesn't it?"
I thought, like South Africa, what a wonderful idea! Bring football to South Africa. That was to me that was a great idea for a World Cup.
Give an fucking African... sailors though.
Oh yeah, that was great.
They should have banned them.
Didn't Nelson Mandela, his granddaughter died driving home from the opening night?
Really? Didn't know that.
Yeah. There was the opening game, and on the way home, his granddaughter was in a car crash. And I still feel shit to this day because that was such a massive thing for him.
Mm.
And on the first day, it was ruined.
I didn't know that.
Got killed in a car crash on the way home from the opening night.
God, right. Let's put a downer on my night.
Yeah.
I was just going to say one more point before I sort of conclude. I know this has been proper ranty. This, I know. I'm sorry.
I know.
But I did the research and stuff, and I just started getting a bit annoyed about it. To be honest.
Yeah.
It's just a point about the way that the players in that are portrayed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, in the UK or like European football, if a player makes a mistake, so say Virgil van Dijk gets put on his arse and someone goes around him and scores a goal, the pundits and everyone go, "That's his mistake. Yeah, he's made that error. He completely fucked up. It's all down to him."
Mm-hmm.
I find that when it's like AFCON, if a goalkeeper makes a mistake, for example, in a game, perhaps he completely fluffs his lines and lets in something for like 45 yards or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Immediately, it's like, well, all the goalkeepers in AFCON are shit. They've got terrible goalkeepers there. Of course, this is going to happen. It seems to be like the difference is like in Europe, you blame the player.
Yeah.
Whereas when it comes to like AFCON and the African teams, the one mistake completely undermines the entire tournament.
Yeah.
That's the view I've had.
So James, AFCON, your information's been really actually quite interesting. I think you've raised some fantastic points. But tell me what's dangerous about it?
Dangerous about AFCON?
Yeah, this is the most dangerous podcast. So.
Nothing's dangerous about AFCON. It's a football tournament. It's 22 blokes kicking a football around.
Yeah.
There might be an injury. There might be a riot in the stands. But the actual tournament itself, there's nothing dangerous about it. But
okay,
what is dangerous? I think what is dangerous about AFCON is the media-driven narrative behind it.
Yeah,
I think, and like I'm going to get pelters for this. And I'm sorry, I'm not accusing anybody, and I'm not calling out anybody or anything like that. But I think there's like almost an unconscious racism towards the tournament and towards African players and African teams. And I'm not saying, do you watch AFCON? No. Oh, you're racist. I'm not saying that at all.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of it myself. I'm the one that sent you that tweet about that guy's birth certificate. I'm just as guilty as anybody else. But what concerns me and what I find quite dangerous is media-driven, particularly right-wing media-driven narratives about they're not as good as us. This is a tournament. This disrupts our great Premier League, and I think that whilst the tournament itself isn't dangerous, naturally, there is a dangerous underside or dangerous narrative again to this tournament, which I think we just need to be wary of, really. And I know I've been on a rant. I know, I understand that.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, and people can give me shit or whatever. But that's what I've discovered whilst reviewing this, because I didn't know what to do. Right, AFCON. When Sean suggested do AFCON, it took me a week to think, what am I going to do it on? And the more I went into it, and the more I researched it, and the more I went in deeper, it seemed that every story about it was a negative one.
Yeah.
There's no positivity about it. It's a wonderful continent. It's so diverse. There's so many different countries, languages, like I said at the very beginning. But everything seems to be shit. AFCON gets in the way of our league, and it's awful football. They don't know the rules, all this shit. And that's what I find dangerous about it.
So AFCON, watch it. It's good. Yeah. It's not dangerous at all.
It's good. Enjoy it. Yeah, it's fun. I think I just got a message off my mate, actually, and Mo Salah's been taken off injured.
Oh, I see. Shit.
Yeah. So I don't know. It doesn't ever get injured, though, which is hamstring, apparently.
Gutted.
That's kind of good, though, because it means he'll come home and then it's a couple of weeks out and he's back for us. Get in, win the league.
But no, that's been a really interesting podcast.
Yeah, well, thanks for listening to it.
Appreciate
my
it.
ramblings. Like I say, I'm sorry. I don't mean to offend anybody, and I'm not saying that anybody's racist or deliberately racist. I think it's fed into us so much that it's, like I said before, it's unconscious, and we just automatically go, AFCON, what a joke.
Well, I've enjoyed that, James.
Good. I'm glad you did. Sorry, I need to catch a breath. Smash some things up.
So are we done?
We're done. Yes, thank you. I hope you're feeling better.
I'm getting there. Yeah. I'm not really working tomorrow.
Good.
I'm at home with the boy all day, so
that's working itself, isn't it?
Not really working over the weekend, so hopefully by Monday I'll be ready to properly work again instead of half-hour working.
It's like one of them, isn't it? When you're sick, like when you're working, you're like, oh, I wish I wasn't there. But then when you're sick, you're kind of like, I'd rather not be sick.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd rather be working properly than. But the thing is, I didn't get to not work. I still had to work. Just feeling like shit. I've probably infected quite a lot of people this week. So
spreading the love.
Very irresponsible of me.
Go on. All right. Well, I'll let you go.
Yeah.
And we're doing. We'll be back next week. Don't know what we're doing yet.
Yeah, I know. We'll be doing something definitely. No more clip shows, promise.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night. That was the most dangerous podcast, and that was AFCON.
Bye. All right.